The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
I'm looking at myself, reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of Tuesday evening news. Tuesday evening
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Psychedelic Reporters this week on Tuesday, January the 18th in 2022. We are back for a brand new year and another season here on the Psychedelic Reporters with my joint host, the one and only Miss Cindy Howell. How's it going, Cindy?
I'm really awesome. How are you doing, Kim?
I'm doing all right. Want to give a shout out to the boys in Dead Ringer from Kirkland Lake, Ontario for the awesome intro track, originally recorded by the one and only the Moody Blues. But of course, we added some customization for our show here and changed it to Tuesday evening news. Thanks very much to Sean and the boys from Dead Ringer in Kirkland Lake. And of course, tonight, Cindy and I are joined by the one and only Bufo Alverius, who has been scouring the news wires while we were on holidays to check out all of the latest and greatest news in psychedelic therapy, streaming in mainstream media. And he's, of course, brought all of that information to us so we can bring it to you, our listeners, here on the Psychedelic Reporters on the Pace Radio Network. This is our second show on Psychedelic Tuesdays. We were back last week with Open Your Eye, but it is our first episode of Psychedelic Reporters. And man, a lot happened over the holidays.
Yeah, it was. Well, there's always stuff happening, especially in psychedelic news. But I mean, it was very busy.
It was very, very busy. It was extremely busy. And well, let's get right at it there, Cindy. I mean, we've got lots to talk about today. We're going to bring you our first story from Global News Hour. Psychedelics, big news in Canada. They have been approved for medical use in our fair country.
They have. Healthcare advocates are calling it a major breakthrough in treating serious or life-threatening conditions. Aaron MacArthur reported in this video, Health Canada has given the green light for psychedelic drugs such as MDMA and magic mushrooms to be used for medical purposes.
It's an amazing story. Sadly, this is a clip with the majority of the information in a video clip on Global News Hour at 6 in BC from January the 7th in 2022. General gist of the story is that it tells us that now doctors that are recommending the use of psychedelics as a therapy in Canada used to have to wait months and months, to get approval from Health Canada. Health Canada is now promising to have those answers and approvals back to doctors for the patients within 48 hours. So that's an amazing advancement for this.
It is. It's huge. Like, I mean, it's most people were waiting 6 months ish. And now to take that and they just, squirrel it down to 48 hours. I'm going to be interested to see if Health Canada can really keep up with the letters they're about to get.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure they are going to become inundated with requests now that the timeline has been shored up so greatly on this. I know past guests on Open Your Eye on Psychedelic Tuesdays have discussed their endeavors with Health Canada seeking a Section 56 exemption. People that are on deathbeds, end of life, that kind of thing, have had to wait literally months. And by the time approval comes in, sometimes they have already expired. So, I mean, that's very sad indeed. So, excellent strides being made here in Canada for sure. I'm going to bring us
Absolutely.
back in. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's great strides being made in Canada for sure. Exciting stuff going on, and hopefully we see further advancements coming up in the wings for more exemptions being written at a faster pace.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And more people will be applying because with this, and like the fact that they're actually taking these in and reading them. I'm hoping that more people will apply for said exemption, just to give the voice that it's actually being used.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hello, Mr. McNabb. Thank you for joining us today. Happy 710 East Coast. Our next story is brought to us by Psychedelic Spotlight. The psychedelic train has left the station, says federal drug officials, as more states seek access, spreading far and wide, especially across the U.S.
Absolutely. A GOP representative in Missouri files a bill to give Missouri residents increased access to psychedelic medicine, while 2 Virginia bills attempt to decriminalize possession. The psychedelics reform movement is off to an impressive start in 2022. Last week, a top federal drug official declared the psychedelic train has left the station, as lawmakers on both sides of the aisle in Missouri and Virginia introduced bills to expand access to psychedelic medicine.
That's amazing. The comments came from the National Institute on Drug Abuse, or NIDA, Director Dr. Nora Volko, who spoke on Thursday, at the National Institute for Health's workshop on psychedelics as therapeutics, and plainly suggest that psychedelic healing movement was here to stay. She says, I think to a certain extent, with all the attention that the psychedelics and drugs have attracted, that train has left the station and that people are going to start using it. She goes on to say people are going to start to use it whether the Food and the Drug Administration approves or not. And oh, how right she is.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, though Dr. Volko acknowledged it's challenging for regulators and researchers to keep up with the rapidly growing trend, she also saw this moment in time as an incredible opportunity for her and her colleagues to modify their approach to psychedelic medicines, which have shown to help treat everything from PTSD, depression, anxiety, and alcohol use disorder. They're naming specifically here. What is it that the NIH can do to help accelerate research in this field so that we can truly understand what are the potentials and the ultimate application of interventions that are brought based on psychedelic drugs, she asked? Well, there's no shortage of evidence supporting Dr. Valka's claim that psychedelic movement has reached its tipping point.
That's for sure. The Wednesday GOP State Representative Michael Davis filed a bill to give Missouri residents increased access to psychedelic medicine under an amended version of the Show Me State's Right to Try law, which allows terminally ill patients to partake in experimental therapies. That very same day, Don Adams, a Democrat and senator, as well as Senator Gaza Hashmi, introduced similar measures in Virginia's House of Delegates and Senate, seeking to decriminalize the possession of psychedelics. This is sweeping like a wave across the United States, a very colorful wave. wave.
Yeah.
Republican Davies bills were to pass, it would amend the state law blocking parts of the Federal Right to Try Act signed in 2018. So the current version of Missouri law, terminal ill patients are given leeway with some investigative medications that haven't obtained FDA approvals, but Schedule 1 drugs like MDMA and psilocybin are still forbidden. So the amendment would address that.
Yeah. Yeah. Furthermore,
Absolutely.
the bill seeks to lessen the state level penalty for psychedelic drug possession, bringing the criminal charge down from a felony to a misdemeanor. There is emerging interest in significant clinical research supporting the safety and efficiency of psychedelic drugs for PTSD, traumatic injury therapy, and numerous other conditions, Representative Davis said in a statement. Because the FDA has not taken action to reschedule these drugs and make them generally available, I am working to make these drugs available through Missouri's Investigational Drug Access Statute. That's fantastic.
It really is. And of course, Missouri and Virginia are hardly the only two states in the union pushing for psychedelic sea changes in this year. Groundbreaking new laws promoting psychedelic therapy and research are officially in effect in Canada, Texas, and Connecticut, while decriminalization and psychedelic therapy legislation may also soon be on the way in states ranging from California to New York, Florida, and Michigan. It's definitely a wave. There's no
Yeah.
question there. Going to bring us back in. Yeah, it's an amazing journey that we're all on. The map says it all in that particular article, and I love their choice of graphic for that
Yeah, that was
particular
really pretty,
story.
wasn't it?
It was very pretty for sure. And we're seeing this all over the globe, not just in North America, but everywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really quite exciting to
Absolutely.
watch.
It is. It is. I'm excited to bring the psychedelic news and views each and every week on our show here. Our next story is coming to us from Marijuana Moment. Yes, that's right, Marijuana Moment. Even the cannabis net mags are getting in on the scene. The global coalition launches to push and to reschedule psilocybin under international rules. Ooh.
Oh, I got to click next here. A new global coalition announced a new campaign on Tuesday to get psilocybin mushrooms internationally rescheduled. As the psychedelics reform movement continues to expand domestically in the U.S., the International Therapeutic Psilocybin Rescheduling Initiative, the ITPRI, is seeking a worldwide policy change in order to facilitate research into the therapeutic potential of the substance. Partners of the coalition include the MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, Beckley Foundation, the Mind Medicine Australia, Drug Science, and Open Foundation. Talk about like it being a worldwide thing that you were just saying, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's global. The initiative focuses on international drug scheduling under the United Nations 1971 Convention on Psychotropic Substances, which currently places psilocybin the most tightly restricted Schedule 1 category, which is supposed to be reserved for drugs that constitute an especially serious risk and have limited therapeutic uses. Well, we know that's not the case.
Yeah. Advocates say that psilocybin fits neither of those criteria.
Yes, absolutely. The Schedule 1 drugs like psilocybin are subject to strict limits on their scientific and medical use, according to the coalition press release. Schedule 1 licensing, safe custody, security, manufacturing, quantity, and import and export restrictions result in a level of regulatory control and oversight that is drastically more onerous for the convention than the other three schedules for sure.
Yeah. Consequently, researchers interested in studying the controlled substance face numerous regulatory hurdles, which adds significantly to the cost, complexity, and duration of the research and can negatively impact ethical approvals, funding, and collaboration. Yeah, I understand that. To reschedule psilocybin under international policy, the coalition says as a first step, it will be engaging with the member nations who are part of the treaty to initiate a formal review of the benefits and risks of the psychedelic. Only one country would need to request the review from the UN's World Health Organization to get the process started.
Yeah. I mean, I hate trying that. Well, I not really hate it, but I'm tired of it, I guess. It seems I do it a lot. Drawing the parallels with cannabis. We've seen this already. We've seen this path with cannabis. Cannabis was deregulated recently by the coalition, and that changed everything for cannabis. We're seeing legalization spread like wildfire, and medicinal properties being explored with natural therapy. We're already seeing Canada and other countries, as we just reported on, giving people the right to use psychedelic therapies. Psychedelic therapies are already being explored in the scientific community. It's about time that we take this off of the schedule for the WHO.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So given today's scientific understanding of psilocybin's high potential, therapeutic value, and low risk of dependence, a change of its status as a Schedule 1 drug is long overdue, according to Christopher Cotterman, an ITPRI co-founder and chair of the board of directors, said in a press release. So hopefully this gets moved along faster than what we've seen in the past with other conventions being reviewed. I mean, these conventions were written in like 1971, so I mean it's about time they were reviewed.
Yeah, it's been 50 years. So
yeah,
it's we have to take another look at it. I mean, it's a very old law based on very old thinking. And it's time for a change. I mean, we're watching how these medicines, especially psilocybin, which is what they're talking about here, change lives for the better. And it's not addictive; it's anti-addictive. So it doesn't fall into the category of Schedule 1, but in the first place. So as they're proving, they need to rewrite.
Absolutely, the UN is. They're embedded with some of their policies at the UN. And I mean, some of these policies, they started being developed in the 60s and in the early 70s. And as you say, 50 years, a long time coming. Advancements have been made in our thinking, our science, and our understanding of these natural plant medicines that are available out there, most of which weren't illegal until they came across somebody's desk as something that they didn't like, and then they became illegal after that. So I mean, it's about time that these conventions were revisited and go forward for change.
Yeah.
Another rather lengthy article as well. There's so many of them in the psychedelic world, isn't there?
There is. There's a lot of new information that everybody is trying to get out there and trying to share. And then they draw comparisons in the articles, and they make for quite long articles.
They do. I'm going to pop us
do.
back in.
Okay.
I advise people to go and realize it, or to go and read it, and for themselves. If there's any last lines in there that you want to cover.
The one I just closed it off, but there was one that the WHO is also looking at not putting any judgment or any restrictions on kratom because they've been asked to. So that was one of the lines that was right there on the screen just before I closed it off. That they are not looking at putting restrictions on that and keeping it a free plant medicine.
Which is awesome. Good thing. That's a good thing. I mean, yeah, absolutely. They were quick to add, stuff like psilocybin on there not too long ago, even though it wasn't included in the psychoactive therapies list. More recently was added. So I'm glad that there's making a change in a different direction, and maybe eliminating some of the products that are on those lists rather than adding them in.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Yeah, ketamine is in the news today.
Yes, yes. Coming to us from the Psychedelic Spotlight, ketamine trial for alcohol use disorder delivers very promising results. This is just so exciting.
It really, really is. It's a very good article indeed. Ketamine Life Sciences head of ketamine assisted therapy, Professor Celia Morgan, says the world's first controlled trial to investigate efficacy of ketamine assisted therapy for the treatment of alcohol use disorder paves the way for a paradigm shift.
Yeah. Ketamine-assisted therapy may soon offer new hope for the hundreds of millions across the globe affected by alcohol addiction. Awaken Life Sciences has announced very promising results from the world's first controlled trial to investigate the efficacy of ketamine-assisted therapy for the treatment of alcohol use disorder, the AUD as they're calling it here.
Nice. Published in the American Journal of Psychiatry, the double-blind placebo-controlled phase 2 trial, there's a mouthful, demonstrated that the AUD patients receiving low doses of ketamine combined with a proprietary manualized therapy or care were considerably more likely than control groups to achieve alcohol abstinence, as far less likely to relapse by the 6-month mark. Perhaps more importantly, those receiving the ketamine assisted therapy were also 90% less likely to die the following year.
The numbers in this article I just
Wow.
find astonishing. Yeah. The
Wow.
biotechnology company also reported no serious adverse effects. That's really important as well, right? The trial consisted of 96 patients with severe AUD, and they were randomly split into 4 groups. The first received, ketamine infusions. The second received placebo. The third received ketamine with alcohol education, and the fourth received placebo with alcohol education. And this is where we start learning about the numbers. The first group reportedly achieved a total abstinence in 162 out of 180 days in a 6-month period following the treatment, which is an improvement that went from 2% to 86%. Additionally,
Wow.
yeah, right. The risk of relapse at 6 months for the ketamine plus care group was 2.7 times less than it was for the group receiving the placebo. I mean, amazing number, from 2 to 86%.
I mean, 84% jump. 84%. I
Yeah.
mean, their past results, I mean, they were lucky if they garnered 2% improvement using other means. And then you use ketamine and they've got 86%. That's amazing numbers. I mean, the reach of psychedelic therapies are just phenomenal. They really
Yeah.
are. Both groups receiving the care therapy experienced significant decreases in the risk of mortality. According to the findings, 1 in 8 patients would have died within 12 months without the psychedelic treatment, while the number decreased to 1 in 80 after they've received it. That's I mean, this is life-saving. Life-saving, literally.
Yeah.
The study also produced multiple encouraging secondary outcomes, ranging from improved liver function in patients and statistically significant decrease in depression to an increase the ability to experience pleasure. That's
So
amazing.
it's also, I mean, if you want to look at it from a financial point of view, it's saving money on future, like you don't
Yes.
have liver issues, so therefore you don't need those meds, or you don't need that treatment. You don't need
That's
your
right.
depression has lessened. Like I mean, like it's mind boggling. They're treating the alcohol disorder, but like the addiction, but what comes out of it as they're treating it is just it just blows my mind and fills my heart, right? This was conducted by England's University of Exeter and led by pharmacology professor and Celia Morgan. I had to look a little bit further. The positive phase 2 trial paves the way for a phase 3 trial in service of eventually securing regulatory approval for ketamine-assisted therapy to treat AUD via the United Kingdom's National Health Service. And this is just really exciting, and it's going to be very strong in the fight to get this therapy to patients.
It really is. It really is. The last few paragraphs here, the numbers here speak volumes. Alcohol use disorder is a pervasive and persistent public health issue affecting at least 390 million people globally. Treatment rates are low, and people relapse. Post treatment they're very, very high relapses. So urgently, new and effective treatments have to be developed. They found that controlled low doses of ketamine combined with manualized psychological therapy can significantly increase post-treatment abstinence rates. I'm going to skip down to the very bottom, and it says, while the clinical trial is the first to link psychedelic therapy and improve the AUD outcomes, it's hardly the first credible study to the extol the healing properties of ketamine-assisted therapy. In 2021 and 21, ketamine treatments were hailed as an effective antidepressant during the COVID-19 pandemic, which we reported on here on the Psychedelic Reporters as well. It's being used to treat conditions, everything ranging from ALS to Parkinson's disease, as well as chronic depression. The numbers in these studies speak volumes.
Yeah, just last month, a comprehensive review of 83 published research papers found ketamine therapy rapidly reduced depression for up to 2 weeks and moderately reduced suicidal ideations as quickly as 4 hours after the treatment.
4 hours.
Yeah, you could be suffering your whole life.
You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, gonna bring us back in. You have your treatment and you're good, right? 4 hours. So, you have a little nap, you wake up and you're a new person. And, this therapy can do that for somebody that's been suffering needlessly for so long.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is. I'm so thrilled to see these studies going on.
Absolutely.
It's really uplifting.
Yeah, it'll be really exciting to see a lot of the clinics pop up as well as time goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got one more story coming at you before we head to break. And this is coming to us from High Times.
Yeah. Ancient South American empire tripped on psychedelic beer.
Yes, love it. South American excavation just uncovered beer that was psychedelic in nature and used to exercise political control over surrounding communities.
In a study published by the journal Antiquity, archaeologists revealed that leaders of the Wari people served a beer-like beverage made from the fruits of the mali tree combined with the seeds of the vikla tree and served the mixture to guests at communal feasts. Sounds to me like they were giving them ayahuasca or a version thereof.
Yeah, it very much does, doesn't it? It very much does, for sure. The resulting psychotropic experience reinforced the power that the Wari state and represents of the intermediate step between exclusionary and corporate political strategies. I don't know if they were all that geared to that kind of stuff, but I guess who knows? They say this Adrian example adds to the global catalog documenting the close relationship between hallucinogens and social power.
Yeah, the Wari built their empire on the highlands of the Andreas Mountains in current-day Peru, where ayahuasca is currently, like they do ayahuasca stuff there,
Yeah.
ruling the area from about 600 to 1000 AD and predating the Inca Empire by 4 centuries. I love this article. I had a good giggle when I read it because they make it sound like the Wari were getting everybody high to keep them complacent.
Yeah.
And keep
That's pretty much the way it reads.
Okay, somebody needs to send us to our government and say, hey, do you want to keep us complacent? Serve us all ayahuasca.
Yeah, it says, we're going to skip down to the second part of this article. It says, party hosts ruled the empire. Previous research has revealed that the Wari used feasting and beer as a way to exercise political control over guests from surrounding communities. Researchers at the Quilcapampa site discovered evidence that the Wari were making Mali beer called chicha in substantial quantities, apparently. But botanical remnants of Mali and Vilca were found, and the ceramics were discovered in the center of the site, an indication that's where the feasts were held, according to the study's authors. So they were just like little party animals.
Yeah, taking everybody on ayahuasca trips. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
it is.
It's a very cool little article. I encourage people to go and check it out. Absolutely, for sure. I thought it was kind of cute. We had to throw it in there that, like, we've been doing this for centuries, folks.
This is how the Wari kept their people in line. Like I said, we need to send this to our government and give them a really good idea.
No, maybe we should feed it to our government and keep our government in line.
That's just a great idea.
Yeah, we could do it that way as well. Oh my goodness! And you know what I did? We're back, and I forgot to play my my opening extra commercial in there that we were planning on doing, and I forgot to do it. So we're going to be skipping that one today, and we're just going to go to our first commercial break. I will slide in our next week's show commercial at some point during the show where it's not supposed to be, but we're going to stick it in there anyway. But for now, let's talk to some of our sponsors here on the Psychedelic Reporters. Hang in, everybody. We'll be back in 5 minutes, or less than 5 minutes, with 5 more stories for you from Bufo Alverius here on the Psychedelic Reporters. Hang in.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
The Pace Radio Network is the place to be for all your information from the world of psychedelics, because we are pleased to bring our listeners 2 shows focusing on psychedelic therapy in the world of natural medicine. First up, we have Open Your Eye, which airs on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month. Open Your Eye is a 90-minute video podcast with Kim Cooper and Cindy Howell interviewing patients and professionals in the space. Patient stories, facilitators, lawyers, and others discuss their journeys and endeavors involving psychedelic medicine. But they're not done, because Kim and Cindy are back on alternate Tuesdays at 7 p.m. with Psychedelic Reporters as they bring along the show's mascot, Bufo, aka the Colorado Mud Toad, who is scouring the news wires for all the latest in psychedelic news. He then passes it on to Kim and Cindy to cover in this 60-minute video news podcast. So tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for Psychedelic Tuesdays right here on the Pace Radio Network, found at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888, and grow on with CP.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At Bma Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. Bma Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At Bma Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. Bma Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
Bufo here, your psychedelic reporter, here on paceradio.net.
Hey, we're back. We're back from our medication session, and we are live. We're the Psychedelic Reporters here at paceradio.net.
Yes, we are. We got another 5 stories coming at you. And it was a good medication session. Absolutely. We're going to bring you another 5 stories here on Pace Radio Network. Let's get right at it with our first one coming to us from the Market Insider.
Yeah. MindMed launches study using monitoring system for psychedelic experiences. Well, that's kind of interesting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very cool. They've got a way to monitor what's going on during your psychedelic journey. Psychedelics biotech company MindMed is on the NASDAQ, has enrolled in the first subjects into its Sessions Monitoring System study. The company's Sessions Monitoring System is a technology platform that can collect sensory data during therapy sessions with a psychedelic drug.
Ooh. I'd love to be part of that. That'd be really cool. By refining the techniques used to capture, model, and map these outputs, we aim to improve the experience of clinicians and outcomes for patients in the delivery of psychedelic and other perception-altering substances, says Daniel Carlin, who's the Chief Medical Officer of MindMed. The study will evaluate the passive collection of sensory data during the consciousness-altering therapeutic session. The company believes its session monitoring system could have therapeutic applications in the treatment of psychiatric disorders.
Oh, well, we know that for sure, just from the studies that are ongoing globally that we report on here on the Psychedelic Reporters. MindMed has recently consulted with the FDA and the Centers for Devices, Radiological Health, and the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, and received positive feedback supporting the company's planned development strategy. They say we have welcomed FDA input throughout the device development process, giving us clear roadmap for success and adoption of the sessions monitoring system, according to Carlin. Our team has worked incredibly hard to advance this product into the clinic, and we remain dedicated to rolling out these novel approaches to improving mental health outcomes, according to Todd Solomon, head of digital psychiatry at Mindset. Very cool stuff indeed.
It is.
Going to bring us back in.
It is.
Yeah,
That
that's
was, yeah.
very cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, to have, I mean, we already have, stuff like that where, you can get an EEG and it monitors, brain waves and patterns and stuff. It can point out, issues with epilepsy and that kind of thing for a diagnostic tool. I guess this is just the next step in that sort of evolution. Now, what changes happen in your brain when exposed to the psychedelics as a
Absolutely.
therapy?
I think it would be really cool to take a look at.
Yeah, very cool stuff indeed. Very cool stuff indeed. We've got another story, this one coming to us from real mainstream media. We're into CTV News here, which is very cool. Update on psychedelic therapy drugs, a positive step mental health experts care, as according to the story. Very cool.
Yes. A doctor and a psychologist say Health Canada's move to allow physicians to request restricted psychedelic drugs for patients as part of their psychotherapy is a positive step towards transforming mental health care. Oh, preach it. But they say that the recent change to the Special Access Program isn't enough. We still have a huge amount of work to do because these medicines could really, really revolutionize the entire mental health care field, says Dr. Michael Verbora, who works as a medical director at the Field Trip Health Therapy Center in Toronto.
Oh, very cool. I want to check that place out next on our next trip down there. I really do. I don't want to get too far ahead of where the science is, they say, but I do really believe that people have a process to start their own healing. It can lead to a much better world for most people. Psychedelic assisted therapy involves ingesting conscious altering substances, including psilocybin, ketamine, LSD, or MDA, which of course is the active ingredient in ecstasy, in a clinical setting as part of traditional psychotherapy. Health Canada has said requests will be considered on a case-by-case basis for serious life-threatening conditions, and where other controversial means have failed, are unstable, suitable for the patient, or are not available in Canada. Again, I'm going to bring it up again, Cindy. I'm going to bring it up again. Why is it the last resort? Our last story we just covered talked about using ketamine therapy and having results for patients in 4 hours, but they have to endure years of trials with things that are just on this disappointment train over and over and over again, where they don't work, where it causes so much devastation when we have something that can work in 4 hours. Why is this a last resort? I do not understand that.
No, when I read this, I heard you say pretty much that verbatim, because it is. It's like, I mean, why does it have to be a last resort? It shouldn't be. the trauma that we can save with this medication is just vast, and I can't wait to watch people get on board, right? Verboa said that change isn't designed to have a wait list because it's meant for emergencies. Health Canada has said applications will be processed within 2 days, but it's unclear when a decision would be made. Oh, that's the loophole.
That's the loophole.
What it has done is a streamlined potential access to restricted drugs, Verbora said. Unfortunately, if you have a terminal illness, you don't have much life left in you. You don't have time to apply to the government and wait months to get an exemption. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. It's Edmonton-based psychologist Brian Welling calls the approach revolutionary. This is the greatest leap forward in mental health care since the invention of psychotherapy, he said. I've used psychedelics many, many times. I don't have a serious or life-threatening condition, but for my own personal problems and part of my own spiritual journey, these experiences have been life-changing. This is coming from the clinicians. Verboda, who filled his first application on behalf of a patient last week, said one of the biggest challenges is that more physicians need education on psychedelic therapy. Oh, isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they have to be open to it, which would, that therein lies a whole other problem, right? The responsibility really falls on the physician to do all the paperwork, which is like to write 100 prescriptions in the time that I do one of these applications, he said. Then I'll have access to the drug. I'll have to store the drug. I'll have to educate the patient on the drug, and so the physician should. Ronan Levy, co-founder of Field Trip Health, says most applications expect the most severe will probably be rejected. He said he hopes Health Canada's criteria for approval of psychedelics expand in the future. I do too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No more last resorts and no more stringent tight ropes. I mean, these are clinicians that are using these things, and the patient community that is already using these in the underground market is enormous. We're seeing the growth all over the world, and here is Health Canada still holding on to so many reins. It is a step forward in the right direction, but we still have many more to take. There's no question there. The government has said the regulatory amendment does not signal an intent towards the decriminalization or legalization of restricted drugs. However, that conversation needs to start, according to Verbora. We have a long way to go to help millions of people around the world that unfortunately suffer from mental health issues and their growing burden. All three men suggest that they can happen by removing the stigma around psychedelics. For sure.
Yeah. When done in the right circumstances with proper oversight, with trained clinicians who can support the experience, the outcome can be fantastic, Levy said. That leads to people who have greater emotional resilience, people who are more able to adapt to circumstances like a global pandemic. People that can handle so much more than we've ever been able to handle, right? And that's why people are turning to psychedelics in these times.
Absolutely. Going to bring us back in. Absolutely. I mean, and that last line said it all, it's the overwhelming amount of people that are having psychological issues right now because of our current state of affairs on the planet is enormous. It's enormous. This is no longer isolated to people that have PTSD or other issues that have been ongoing. Now it's everyone, and it's so much more life-threatening because it is everyone. And we've got people now that are in positions of dealing with these kinds of stressors that aren't used to dealing these kinds of stressors, and the suicide rate is going up. So these psychedelic drugs can help a lot of people, and hopefully Health Canada gets on board with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Our next story is coming to us from Mugglehead Magazine. I love this
Yes, yes.
magazine. I
Yeah.
just love saying the name, Mugglehead Magazine.
I have one of those ones too. I like the fresh toast. It always gets me giggling.
Yeah. This was from Aussie the land down under. Australian researchers have been granted $3 million for psychedelic mental health treatments.
Okay.
Ooh, what's this?
Australia. Australia, of all places. This one just floored me. Researchers at the University of Sydney have received a large round of government funding to evaluate the effectiveness of two promising psychedelics as treatments for mental health conditions. On Tuesday, the university said two research teams were granted a total of 3.1 million Australian, which is 2.8 here in Canada, to study MDMA as a treatment for combined alcohol use disorder and PTSD, and psilocybin-assisted therapy for anorexia.
Wow, for anorexia.
Yeah.
Now that's a new one.
Interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. The funding comes from the Medical Research Fund under the Australians Government Initiative Therapies for Mental Illness Grants, which aims to accelerate global efforts to find new treatments for mental health conditions. Not surprising coming from Australia. The MDMA trial awarded nearly $2 million Australian dollars, or 1.8 million Canadian dollars, which led Associate Professor Kristen Morley. They say there's a high rate of comorbidity between alcohol use disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is associated with a greater clinical impairment, poorer prognosis, and greater treatment attrition, according to the statement.
We urgently require innovative, integrated treatments that can enhance outcomes for patients with these treatment-resilient complexities. One promising agent that can, enhance psychotherapy is MDMA, she adds. For the psilocybin-assisted therapy trial, it was awarded $1.2 million Australian, which is about 1.1 million Canadian. Faculty of Science experts and researchers from the cannabis-focused Lambert Initiative are teaming up with eating disorder research organization Inside Out Institute. And according to the statement, the trial will build on strong international collaborations to assess the safety and effectiveness of psilocybin-assisted psychotherapy for patients when conventional anorexia nervosa treatments haven't worked. Again, they're waiting for the last thing.
And yeah, last resort. Everywhere is last resort. Oh, well, we've tried everything else, so let's try this. Why don't we just try this first? I keep asking the same question. Nobody seems to have an answer for me. We need to constantly remind ourselves that anorexia nervosa continues to have one of the highest mortality rates in psychiatry, according to Professor Stephen Toyes, an eating disorder expert who works both at the university as well as Inside Out. It's an extremely debilitating, pervasive disorder that can result in immense suffering for those afflicted by it and a nightmare for those caring for a loved one or a friend, he continued. They hope that the psilocybin assisted psychotherapy trial will be able to demonstrate improved clinical outcomes, especially in those patients where other treatments have failed.
Yeah. What is particularly exciting with psychedelics is the potential, is the political will for Australia to take an international lead in this area, as shown by this round of funding. Says Ian McGregor from the Lambert Initiative. We are overjoyed to be working with a dream team of world-leading researchers from Imperial College, Johns Hopkins University, and leading Australian universities on this incredibly significant trial. So yeah, I mean, like I love the fact that they are introducing us to yet another something else that psychedelics can help with that, I never thought of before. I don't know about you. I never thought of fixing anorexia with psilocybin. I would have thought cannabis more so than that. Give them the munchies or something, right? But this is really exciting, really exciting research. And the political fact that Australia is the one coming out leading it to me is just mind blowing.
It really is. It really is. I forgot to tell us that I was coming back. I'm sorry. My bad.
No worries.
My bad. It's a day. It's a day in the life here on the farm. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's great strides being made in a place like Australia. I'll take it. I'll take it wherever it's happening. I don't care
Yeah.
who's first. Just get it started, and let's advance this around the globe the way that we've seen that wonderful little map of the USA with all the psychedelic trails all over it. That's what I want to see across the globe eventually. So way to go, Australia, for sure. Our next story is coming to us from Marijuana Moment.
Yes. These states, and there's quite a list of them, could legalize marijuana, cannabis, or psychedelics in 2022. Advocates, I got to click X. Advocates scored a significant number of cannabis reform victories in state legislators in 2021, but they're hopeful they can get even more accomplished in this new year.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, this does encompass both cannabis as well as the psychedelic regions that are going on in states across the country. Activists are already in the process of qualifying cannabis legalization and other drug policy reform measures from November 22, 2022 ballots as lawmakers separately work to advance reform bills. They say they're optimistic and 2022 will break the record for the most cannabis legalization laws enacted in a single year. A record was set just last year, according to Karen O'Keefe, Director of State Policies for the Marijuana Policy Project. Several states also appear poised to enact compassionate medical cannabis laws as well.
Yeah. And the reform movement is poised to make gains beyond cannabis this year, with several proposals to legalize or decriminalize psychedelics and other drugs also gaining momentum. And then they give us a rundown of which states are most likely to enact broad cannabis or psychedelic reform in 2022. And it's quite a list.
It's quite a list. We'll go through a couple of them. I'm not going to read what it says under each and every place or every state that's listed here because there are a lot of them, but we can run down the list for you real quick. Arkansas, top of the list, of course, with the letter A, and then California and Colorado follow those.
Yes. Delaware, Hawaii, and Idaho are the next three. Kansas, Kentucky.
Oh, wow. And then Kansas, Kentucky, and Maryland.
Yes.
Yeah,
Michigan.
and Maryland. I mean, it's amazing. Michigan's in there too.
Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Nebraska. Wow. New Hampshire.
Wow. Yeah, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma.
Rhode Island. It's a list. Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Washington, D.C., and Washington State. We're almost to the end of it, folks. And Wyoming
is the final. Yeah, that's the final. I mean, that's quite the list of states there, Cindy.
Absolutely. Activists say the stage is
in here.
Sure. They say the stage is
I think I'm
set.
having a bit of a lag here. I think I'm having a bit of a lag here with we've got a snowstorm brewing here.
Oh, then we'd probably definitely have a bit of a lag. Yeah. Activists say the stage is set for an active year for drug policy reform. With that list of states, I can understand why they say that.
Absolutely. Apologies, everybody. I've got some lag going on. We've got a storm brewing here in northern Ontario. We're supposed to get walloped with about 20 centimeters of snow, and it has begun. So let's try and get through today's broadcast before I wind up losing my stream here. We've got one more story left to cover tonight and bring to you tonight. And it's, I like this one. City Life. PA could legalize psychedelics and much more quickly than it did with cannabis.
Yes.
Yay!
It took half a century to get from decriminalizing cannabis in America to legalizing it. The journey to legalize psychedelics, even in, yes, Pennsylvania, could be much shorter thanks to a couple of lawmakers from the Philly burbs and a lawyer from Lower Moran. When Oregon voters legalized the supervised therapeutic use of psilocybin, aka shrooms, in 2020, it was surprising, but not like that surprising, considering Oregon was the first state to decriminalize cannabis possession way back in 1973.
1973, one of the first. It was the very first state to do that, and they've come a long way, but it's been a slow roll up that hill, that's for sure. When conservative Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed into law last year legalization to allow study on the use of said mushrooms as a treatment for PTSD and combat veterans, that was a surprise, and the move got a lot of people's attention, particularly those in Pennsylvania who hoped that they might consider a similar path.
Yes. That's the political landscape into which a couple of legislatures from the Philly burbs, state reps Tracy Pennycook and Jennifer Omar, introduced House Bill 1959 to the legislature in October. Their Public Health Benefits of Psilocybin Act would allow research in Pennsylvania into the use of the substance to treat any number of mental health diagnoses, from PTSD and suicidal ideation to eating and substance abuse disorders, with priority given to research with veterans and retired first responders.
Absolutely. O'Mara's husband, Bradford Biting, served 2 combat tours in Afghanistan, earning 2 Purple Hearts, and suffers from PTSD. Her father, Joe, a former Marine and Philadelphia firefighter, died by suicide in 2003. Pennycook, pronounced Pennycook, did 3 combat tours as an Army helicopter pilot. During one of those tours, she found herself trapped in a burning vehicle after an IED explosion. It didn't hit me until 5 or 6 years later, she recalls her own struggle with PTSD. In the quiet of retirement, it all came crashing down. Psilocybin could provide relief for veterans like her. I'm hoping to be patient number 1, she says, and of the potential for the mushroom trials.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Aiding the duo in crafting their bill was Lower Moran native Brett Waters, who runs a not-for-profit Reason for Hope that advocates for psychedelic-assisted mental health therapy. In college, Waters, now an attorney at Winston & Strawn in New York City, found relief through psychedelics for his adult restrictive food intake disorder. He wonders if they could have helped his mother and his grandfather, both of whom died by suicide. He sees the bill's bipartisan support, 20 legislators split evenly between parties, signed on to the co-sponsor as reasons for, cautious optimism that the state's slow walk towards medical cannabis won't repeat with psychedelics. A lot of people, not just legislators, know someone who's suffering from depression or opioid addiction, says Waters. We want to give them access to what appears to be the best option we have to treat some of those things. At present, he says, lots of people are forced to venture out of the country to seek such relief.
Absolutely. They hoped their bill would pass out of committee in November, but it ended up being tabled at least until January for what they characterize as small technical changes. The setback makes it fair to wonder what realistic timeline she might be looking at for seeing mushrooms legalized medicinally in Pennsylvania. This is a state, after all, whose legislature has has a long history of let's say, extremely puritanical positions on intoxicants from alcohol to weed. And that is for sure in the state of Pennsylvania. They're very much Puritans down there. So,
Absolutely.
a factor in Pennsylvania and New York is our reliance on the legislature to change the laws, according to Paul Armietto, Deputy Director of NORML, a marijuana advocacy organization that I'm formally associated with. Other states allow citizens-led referendum onto the ballot, but not this one. The current political makeup of the Pennsylvania legislature makes it likelihood of such a legalized legislation passing in the immediate future all but an impossibility, according to Paul.
But given the bipartisan support for the Pennsylvania bill, Waters believes that 2024-2025, if things break right, isn't an unreasonable goalpost for seeing medicinal psychedelics legalized here. In other words, a short, strange trip might not be too much to hope for.
Well, that's a ways away. I'm going to bring us back in. That's a ways away. Still, so for somebody that's suffering, from combat PTSD, that's a lot. That's asking them to wait a long time.
Yeah, it's forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've suffered enough, and they've given so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes there's hope, but not fast enough, I don't think.
We're seeing it work. So people need to get off their tuckuses and start doing something instead of just you have to cross this T better, because that's really what it is. And that's just stupid to make somebody suffer for something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to revert back to, one of our stories in the very first segment there. 4 hours. Okay? 4 hours. They were better in 4 hours. Why does anybody have to wait?
Yep.
There is no reason. There's no logical reason. So hopefully things will move along a little bit more quickly there. That is our top 10 stories, brought to you by Bufo Alverius here on the Psychedelic Reporters here on paceradio.net. And we'd like to thank you for turning into our video podcast, and remind you that they are available as an audio podcast on the Pace Radio Network and the video podcast on our YouTube pages, as well as our social media sites.
Absolutely. We hope that you enjoyed your update on mainstream media coverage of psychedelic medicine's advancements from around the globe.
Absolutely. Many thanks to our sponsors, and of course to my wonderful joint host, Miss Cindy Howell, along with one and only Bufo Alverius, who is making this show possible, and as well to you, our listeners, for joining us here each and every week on Psychedelics Tuesdays. And at this point, we're going to hear one more time from our closing from the great band of Dead Ringer from Kirkland Lake, Ontario, who brought us these wonderful opening, closing, and commercial break segments. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you back here next week on Psychedelic Tuesdays.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Looking at myself, reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of Tuesday
Bma Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. Bma Hydroponics. It's worth the drive. The only way to go.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888 and grow on with CP. The Pace Radio Network is the place to be for all your information from the world of psychedelics because we are pleased to bring our listeners 2 shows focusing on psychedelic therapy in the world of natural medicine. First up, we have Open Your Eye, which airs on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month. Open Your Eye is a 90-minute video podcast with Kim Cooper and Cindy Howell interviewing patients and professionals in the space. Patient stories, facilitators, lawyers, and others discuss their journeys and endeavors involving psychedelic medicine. But they're not done, because Kim and Cindy are back on alternate Tuesdays at 7 p.m. with psychedelic reporters as they bring along the show's mascot, Bufo, aka the Colorado Mud Toad, who is scouring the news wires for all the latest in psychedelic news. He then passes it on to Kim and Cindy to cover in this 60-minute video news podcast. So tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for Psychedelic Tuesdays right here on the Pace Radio Network, found at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Open your eyes.
Next week on Psychedelic Tuesdays, tune in at 7 p.m. Eastern for Open Your Eye, our 90-minute video podcast with Kim Cooper and me, Cindy Howell, where we sit down with patients, facilitators, lawyers, and others in the space to discuss their experiences and endeavors working with psychedelic medicine. Join us on Psychedelic Tuesdays each week at 7 p.m. Eastern for all of your news and information from the world of psychedelic medicine.